But I thought that was quite interesting that they used the term collusion between Royal Dutch Shell and the Canadian government. So the report is available on a link to from this Greenpeace article, and I'm going to post that up on our page.
And just before we go to a song, Mike, what do you call a form of government in which corporate power and the government are colluding?
That would, according to Benito Mussolini, that would be fascism.
Yes. Okay, and on that note, let's go to a track, and here we go. Neon Indian 6669. And that was Neon Indian 6669 from the Psychic Chasms album. How you doing, Mike?
Nice. I hadn't heard that before.
That's a pretty sweet piece of music.
So with all these concerns that we're having with the Harper government and environmental regulations, and as we just seen the possible collusion with Dutch Shell, how does Canada's right-wing media cover environmental stories?
Well, it's interesting. I know, like this is, I don't know, I have a morbid fascination with visiting Sun TV site once a week and checking out to see what they're saying. Now, in response to Christy Clark's conditions that she has laid out for a pipeline to be put through BC, right?
Mm-hmm.
She wants top-notch environmental protections.
Christy Clark being the Premier of BC?
The Liberal Premier of BC. Yep. Yeah, she set out some conditions. She wants, in order for the pipeline to travel through her province, right? She wants a cut of the action, and she wants top-notch environmental protection. And this has brought down the ire of the ultra right-wing media.
Both those things sound so unfair for oil companies.
Yeah, but gladly, the oil companies have bought and paid for a certain journalist who works for Sun TV, and his name is Ezra Levant. Ezra Levant, if anyone wants to do some looking into it, started up a lobbying organization called Ethical Oil. Do you know how they say that the tar sands oil is actually ethical? Because it comes from a secure democratic country. Ignore the fact that it's the dirtiest possible source of oil on the planet, but the fact that we're democratic, it's a secure source, and you don't, by buying oil from us, you're not supporting a dictator, in some people's opinion.
Until it hits the BC coast and ends up on big oil tankers that go where? Oh, China. That's right,
Yeah,
a country
exactly.
that has huge problems with human rights abuses.
Yeah, well,
At least even according to the Canadian government, or the Harper government, I guess I should say.
Mike, this is going to be super painful, but let's listen to what Ezra Levant has to say on this subject. He has reacted with extreme negativity towards Christy Clark here. Apparently, he thinks that she's unfairly blackmailing Alberta and oil companies. So here we go with some Ezra Levant.
What would Canada be like if every premier set up drawbridges like Christy Clark is doing? Why, let's start with the Port of Vancouver, the biggest port in Canada. What a gem it is, what an economic engine. But of course, the Port of Vancouver doesn't just serve Vancouver or even just British Columbia. It's the entry point for pretty much everything sailing in from Asia to the rest of the country. Every single Toyota or Mazda or Nissan made in Japan, everything from China or Korea or Taiwan. It's the doorway to the rest of Canada. Mazel tov, and thank God. But here's the thing. To get from the Port of Vancouver to the rest of Canada, you've got to go through Alberta. Yeah, that's the thing about blockades and toll booths and shakedowns, is they can work both ways. What if Alberta took the same approach to the Constitution, to neighborly relations, as Christy Clark is doing? What if Alberta decided to demand a toll on anything coming or going to the Port of Vancouver, saying, oh, I don't know, $1,000 tax on every Acura coming in, a $50 ton tax on every train full of coal going west, $100 for every semi-trailer rolling through the Trans-Canada Highway East across pristine Alberta soil. I mean, it would be illegal, it's unconstitutional, but what if Alberta wanted to do it? If Christy Clark wants it for BC, if she wants to do to Alberta what Hydro-Quebec is doing to Newfoundland, well, let's go through with our thought experiment a little bit. Let's use Clark's arguments. She says, and I quote, that BC takes all the risks, but Alberta gets most of the rewards. Yeah, well, about that, what exactly is the payoff for Alberta to let BC trains and 18-wheelers barrel through Alberta's sacred territory? How many dozens of people each year are killed by semi-trailers on the Trans-Canada Highway passing through Alberta? In BC, they're worried about some ducks getting oily. Yeah, I care dearly about birds. I value them. At the pub, I've been known to tuck away up to 40 chicken wings in a single sitting. That's birds. But what about people, real humans killed just to feed the insatiable economic demands of BC?
Is that incredible or what?
Yeah, that's the most facetious argument that I think that I've ever heard anybody present as something reasonable.
Yeah, just in case people are stuck in a state of disbelief. Yes, Ezra Levant says the risk that a pipeline implies for British Columbia is that some ducks might get some oil on them. Okay, so Ezra Levant says, well, he loves ducks, right? And
yes.
he shows his love for ducks by eating chicken wings, up to 40 at a time. That's a lot, man, by the way. So his concern for the environment he shows by loving ducks. He loves ducks, and he shows that by eating chicken wings. And this is the quality of an argument we get from Ethical Oil's Ezra Levant, like a man directly paid by the oil industry. So far as we know, I mean, his organization is called Ethical Oil, and so far as we know that the oil companies fund it.
Jeez, I don't pay a lot of attention to what he does, but anytime you play me something that Ezra Levant does or says, it's just absolutely shocking.
It's
the fact
surreal.
that he can claim to be a journalist when he's obviously it's an opinion piece, and it's coming from like you say, the oil lobby.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole argument that he makes there too about trucks and people getting hit by trucks, and and when he also suggests that, you know, maybe Alberta will put tolls up too, it's not like he doesn't even argue for or against tolls. He kind of, it's almost like a threatening posture.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm sure there are certain tolls and taxes when it comes to crossing the border, all the various provincial borders.
Yeah, no, it's actually besides the point, because like here's the thing. Basically, how he's presenting it is that he's saying, well, if Christy Clark can blackmail Alberta, as though it's blackmail, you know, it's the province of BC. They should have a right to say what gets built and what doesn't get built in their province, correct?
Yeah.
He's trying to equate the building of this pipeline to the fact that traffic from BC can go across Alberta. Well, here's the thing: the railway and the highway was not built just to transport British Columbia's Acuras and coal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
An accident on the highway, or with involving some Japanese-made cars, does not equal in any way, shape, or form a leak in an oil pipe.
And yeah, it's not an environmental
or a
disaster.
tanker crash. You know what I mean? Because what happens when a train full of Honda cars wipes out? You pick the cars back up, put them back on the train, and keep going. You know what I mean? It's a little different when you dump an oil tanker onto the pristine British Columbia coastline. It's
Especially
a little different.
with tar sands, bitumen in it, because we know that it's the most difficult to clean up because it sinks. It just instantly sinks.
Yeah.
It is essentially sand and oil, right?
Yeah. So if a train car load of coal wipes out, well, what's the really big deal? Because you're just going to pick up the coal, put it back in the train, and keep going. Like, it's to make it to equate bitumen being superheated bitumen under extremely high pressure being piped across the pristine mountains and to the pristine coastline of BC is a whole different ballgame. You know what I mean? Plus, you have to build the pipeline specifically for that. The roads and the railways already exist for similar purposes.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right here, ironically too, I just want to say this. I just did a quick Google search, and this is from Sun News, and it's actually a story just from June about Alberta likely to have tolls on its highway. So I mean, it's kind of funny that they report on it from another perspective here too. So.
Oh yeah, so the Alberta blackmail predates the BC blackmail?
I guess so. I don't know. I'm sure to Ezra Levant it doesn't matter anyways, but
yeah.
You know.
Well, I wonder what Ezra Levant's going to say when BC elects an NDP government that is totally opposed to the pipeline under any circumstances. That's going to be pretty funny.
I'm sure
What's he going to say then?
His bile will rise further.
Yeah. It might be visible from Ontario. A bile geyser from Ezra Levant.
Maybe his head will explode or something, you know?
God. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, should we, I don't know, should I continue to visit Sun TV and bring these clips back? Because it just puts me in a complete state of confusion and flabbergastion, if that's a word.
Well, that's why I think it's important, though. It's good to deconstruct what they're doing. And I mean, even though anybody who isn't a regular Sun TV viewer probably sees it right away, I mean, it's pretty transparent as to where their bias stands.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can't forget these people have an audience out there of eager and interested listeners who enjoy, Ezra Levant and listen to him. And we encounter those people out in the street, so it's kind of good to know what kind of crazy things they're going to be talking to us about, because you know that they take these things and just repeat them. And I like listening. I think it's good that we listen to them, and we at least have a little bit.
Okay. Well, let's keep that as an ongoing part of our show, is just to see what Sun Media is up to, because it's not just Sun TV that this form of opinion is presented, but Sun Media has many small town newspapers and the Toronto Sun, etc.,